So does that mean that like Santa, uh, because of all of us believing in Santa, that then he is in fact real and
Hey, Pierce here. This video is sponsored by Raid Shadow. I'm just kidding, there is no sponsorship, but now that I have your attention, each Wednesday I host Street Epistemology Practice on Discord at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. On January 6th at 6 p.m., I will be co-hosting a practice session with Autumn from Notes with Autumn. Links are in the description.
Hello, very nice to meet you finally.
Nice to meet you.
Uh, let's see. I'm very new to this, so I don't know what I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah. So yeah, it's up to you. Whatever claim, if you have a claim that you'd like to talk about, we can discuss it and discuss your reasons why you believe it, because that's fun for me. I hope it's fun for you.
Yeah, totally. So first, can we get a definition straight? Like, what is belief? Like, because I think for me, belief is more like I think that it's very likely that, rather than I know for a fact it is.
Okay. I think I share the same definition of belief. Um, Something that you believe to be true. Something. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. That's cool. As long as no one's mistaking me for thinking that this is absolute fact. I'm saying this is fact, and anyone who doesn't believe it is stupid.
No, there's things that we believe and there's reasons why we believe them. Doesn't I mean,
Right,
belief obviously, especially if you don't have empirical evidence, it's
right,
based on something. It's either based on facts and evidence or it's based on something. So
right.
that's just the mystery,
Okay,
the fun part
okay.
of
Yeah,
yeah.
I
So
believe
okay.
that. I believe that every god of every religion likely exists. I believe that everything that is possible exists, and I believe that we are all like part of God. So like if you see God as a big whole, it is the combination of all things that exist that have any kind of consciousness. And I think that probably everything has some kind of consciousness, at least some level of consciousness, and that within God, all of the things that are possible exist. There you go.
Okay. It looks like Dolly typed that up there. Does that look
Oh, I'm not
good?
seeing any.
Oh, you
Oh,
can't
I
see it.
can't.
It says
I can't. Yeah. No.
okay, every god of every religion likely exists. All
Yeah.
possible things exist, and we are all part of God.
There you go. That's great.
Okay. Um, let's see. So when you say, let's just take the first one, if we may.
Okay.
Every god of every religion likely exists. Um, are you saying that every single god that's ever been spoken uh, does exist, has existed, still exists?
At least has existed. Maybe it's like an American Gods thing. I don't know if you've ever read American Gods or watched American Gods.
No.
But that the idea is that the more people worship or give their energy to the deity, the stronger and more alive they are. So I think that's probably pretty close. We cause those things to exist, and as long as we believe they exist, they exist.
Um, so are you saying that if we will them into being, like if we say, and is it in our, are you saying that if we will them into being, it is in a objective way, like it truly does exist, or it exists in our imagination, or what do you mean exists?
Yeah, I think probably both. I think I believe that there's good reason to believe that as far as physics are concerned, that everything exists. So I do think that it's kind of contradicting, isn't it? I think both, because I think that the universe is that big. So I think that we can will something into existence in another dimension, another universe, another set of reality. Um, and I think that maybe those things that we willed into existence are personifications of actual things that actually exist. So if we have like Zeus, you know, he is not necessarily Zeus, but he and all of the similar gods that are like Zeus are the personification of this father god, right?
Okay.
And that's an aspect of him, and that literally exists. Yeah.
Um, you said that we can will things into being in whether this dimension another dimension, and it seems like you're saying that the more energy, the more thought and energy put into it, the more real it becomes, or the more likely it has of becoming real.
Hmm.
um, and does this happen for, when you said everything, or everything can exist, every possible thing, so it's not just for gods, it's not just gods that you can think up, and um, so what are other things that you could
Fairies,
okay.
monsters, ghosts, um, anything. I mean, not necessarily in our physical dimension, but in another universe that has similar but different laws of physics.
Hmm. So if you are you saying, like, if you think of a monster here, it would be created in a different universe?
If enough people, if it has enough power behind it. So, like, take for instance Santa Claus. Okay,
Okay.
Santa Claus started off being kind of an elf, and he was seen as tall and skinny. He was not necessarily a good guy. He was part of the Fae. He was a fairy. He was an elf, and then he was kind of morphed together with Saint Nicholas and with Odin, and then later on transformed by Coca-Cola to become jolly old Saint Nick. Right. So
Okay.
we have watched him become and more real in our lives on earth because we bring him into our house, we sing songs to him, we leave cookies and milk out for him, and so he is very powerful God in that
So he comes into being, comes into existence because of all of the energy and thought about it. Does that, and you said that mean, does that mean that, like, Santa, uh,
sense.
because of all of us believing in Santa, that then he is in fact real, and does he
Not because
fit?
we don't have to believe in him. We just have to indulge him.
Hmm.
We have to give him space in our lives. We have to, we basically sing his praises every year, and that gives him power.
Okay.
Or the entity that is wearing his face. So it's not necessarily actually Santa Claus. It is that elf from the very beginning. It is a spirit that has taken on the persona of Santa Claus and gotten more and more and more and more powerful.
So the persona evolves. It's not necessarily the skinny elf that it used to be. um okay.
Right?
um
Fey
hmm
propaganda.
what did you say?
Fey propaganda.
Fey propaganda. Okay.
Yes.
Um, well, what about, it makes me think, like, what about, do you think that we could will Spider-Man into being? Because, I mean,
Yeah, Spider-Man exists for sure.
I wonder if we've already created him in another universe and he's already there somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. And like, the old Norse gods that have been given new life through Marvel, they just change and got more powerful and take on new roles.
Well, I see how you're saying that they definitely become a part of our lives, and a part of our culture and our reality. I'm just, can you help me understand though how they actually become real? How they, like
Well,
I'm thinking of the Polar Express and Tinkerbell.
right, right,
Like
right.
if you believe, like
Well, here I have, okay, so talking about there's two parts. There's a part that I can make a good scientific argument for, and that is that everything that can exist does exist. There's a what was his name? Anthony Aguirre. He's a cosmologist. I saw him on there's a Netflix show called A Trip to Infinity. And he gives a really great example in a thought experiment, which is if you have a perfect box, it's like a vacuum, nothing gets in or out, and you put an apple in that box and you leave it for infinity, you'll watch that apple, disintegrate into a bunch of pieces until it eventually becomes photons. And at some point, when you open up the box, it'll be an apple again. In fact, it will be every incarnate, whatever the word is, everything it could possibly be with its limited atoms. So it is finite. So in infinity, it has to be because you can't destroy or make energy. So in infinity, it has to be everything it can be because it can't go away. So that is the part that I think gives a good kind of credence to the idea that everything that can exist does exist. Second is the idea that we actually create these gods and that these gods are real and they're really out there being real entities. And that is something obviously I can't defend scientifically. I think I believe them because I believe it because I've had too many experiences with things I can't explain. So, um,
so you said though that if you think about it long enough, like just take the Santa Claus example,
mhm,
and then it becomes real. There's a point where it goes from the imagination to reality.
mhm,
And when it does that switch though, isn't
mhm.
when isn't there something that would make it identifiable, that would make it I'm losing the word that I
It's okay.
uh, detectable. I mean, once it becomes real, wouldn't it become detectable? And that would be
Maybe,
a scientific.
maybe not yet. Maybe sometime. I mean, I think that we're not. We don't know everything yet, but yeah. I mean, people have all kinds of things. They think they can detect ghosts, with
Mhm.
electromagnetic doodads and place or the movement, the connect thing. They have all these kinds of ways they think they detect us. And you know, um, I think a lot of them are probably stupid, but but I think that maybe there is something. I mean, I don't think it can't possibly be not detectable. I once had a glass fly across the room at my face. It just lifted up. I watched it lift up and come at my face. And I mean, I can't imagine that something like that can't be detectable if there was someone there to detect it.
Well, you detected
That's
it
my
with
thing.
your eyes,
I
right?
did. Well, I did, right? And so most people will say, oh, well, you have some kind of brain problem. There's something wrong with you. And, that's a consideration for sure. But I have, for other reasons, I've had big neurological workups and I'm fine. And I have no reason to think that I hallucinated it. So, yeah.
Was it a glass? I'm just curious. Like
It
that'd be
was it was
scary.
a glass. It was a glass. It was. Do you want to know the story? Do we have
Sure,
time? Or okay,
sure.
okay.
Well,
So I had a roommate who had a friend come over, and they played with the Ouija board. And this friend was supposedly some kind of Satanist, and she's like, "I'm gonna summon a demon," and I was like, "Ha ha ha ha, yeah right." And so I guess she summoned a demon. I was the only one who refused to put my blood on the darn board. And so then weird things started happening, like electrical things, knocking in groups of threes. And then all of a sudden, like the air in the house just felt bad. It just felt so bad. Like you're walking through and it's like the hair on your back, your neck stands up. You just don't feel alone. And anyway, this kept happening over and over again. And the last thing that happened was that glass flew at me. And then I moved.
Hmm.
So like
This was
I stayed at friends for a week and then after that I was out.
so this happened at your house.
Yeah. Oh, at a rented house.
So so you had people come over and they used the Ouija board in your house, and then the things started happening.
Yeah.
Were they all still there? I mean, did they witness
Oh
it
no,
to
this was happened over like a month and a half.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
misunderstood. I thought it happened like right after they did
Oh
the Ouija
no, it just
board.
started happening gradually. But there were people like people that are atheists who don't believe in anything like that, who would describe coming into my house and being like, it just feels like dread in here. I just don't want to be in here. And it's not because I'm like that dirty or anything. It's because my house was awful. It was
Hmm.
scary.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um. Oops. Um. Hmm. Let's see. How. Hmm. Give me a second. My brain is working. Really, it is. I'm drawing a complete blank.
Mine
Nothing.
overworked.
Nothing going on in here.
Oh yeah. Be hard
Uh.
on me. Make me prove it. I can't. I can't prove
You already said you can't. So. Um. Let's see. Is there any way that you could attribute any of the things that happened in your house after the weird things started happening? Was there any explanation at all, or
it. The only one I can come up with is some kind of mass hysteria that we, the people residing in the house, believed something was going on. So we did it and did it to ourselves. I don't know. Are you
hmm,
more inclined to believe in ghosts that throw glasses or like, what do they call it? Telepathy? No, not telepathy. The thing like Carrie in the movie where you can move things with your mind.
like kinetics, something or
Yeah,
other?
that
Yeah,
was a big thing back in the early 80s. Everyone thought you could move
telekinesis. Yeah.
stuff.
Um, well, are those the only two options?
I could be lying, but I'm not. I don't think I am. I could be crazy.
Let's
But
see.
I think there are other people there. I mean, no one else saw the glass being thrown, but other people felt the energy in the house. Other people experienced the electrical issues and the knocking.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um,
Um, if you would you be surprised if you? I mean, I don't know if there's a way, but would it surprise you if you learned that really there were no ghosts and there like would that be surprising that there was just a natural explanation? I mean,
yeah, it would be surprising because that was just one of a bunch of different things that have happened to me. But I'm open to it. Like I used to be a born again Christian. If facts change, I'll change.
hmm,
But you have to be able to kind of prove it to me because it's something I experienced. Like I don't expect you to believe it because it's an unbelievable thing. Like
yeah,
how can you believe that unless it happens to you?
it's one of those you had to have been there.
Right, right.
Hmm.
So,
So it's the personal experience that is leading you to that conclusion.
right,
Um, yeah.
right. So that
Um,
set me on like how do I explain this to myself? And that's how I came up with where I am now.
um, let's see.
It's my son if you hear him in the background.
Are you okay? Do you need to go?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay. Um, so if let's see, if somebody else, uh, let's see, let me look over here in my text from my teachers. Let's see. Here's a question: if somebody told you a similar story about the experience that you had,
Mhm.
um, what what do you think you would
Uh,
come to a similar conclusion? I mean, what would you say if somebody told you that this had happened to them?
People tell me all the time. I believe them. I mean, if it's something that is really, really outrageous, I mean, I'm also prone to thinking people are crazy. But my
Well,
friends and people that I know aren't too out there. Yeah, I mean, I believe them. People ask me all the time to for advice and about like getting rid of spirits and stuff.
hmm. Um, hmm. So it seems like it's semi. How important is the belief to you? How?
I mean, it's not important in that like I don't. It doesn't matter really if it's true or not true to like what happens in the world. It's important to my personal system because um, I have an emotional connection to it, and it's the
Hmm.
emotional connection that everything goes on. I think that's the bottom line for humans, right? We know we're going to die, so having this connection to death not being the end is really emotional.
Hmm.
And for me personally, for all kinds of reasons in my life, not just wanting to move to keep going. So yeah, I mean, I would be sad, I think, but I would accept it if that's turned out to be the case.
Well, it seems like it's giving you happiness and joy and meaning, and I mean, it seems
Personality.
your
No, I'm kidding.
personality. Sure. Um, yeah. So do you think that all of everything here on this that we're living through now, um, do you believe in an afterlife? Does
I
that
do.
so and what let's see. Yeah, I guess it gives more I guess it would give a meaning towards having everything have a purpose and a
I
you
don't
know.
know about a purpose. I think it's more like there was nothing, right? There was nothing. And then nothing became aware of itself. And it was like, what can I do? And so it was like, let's just do all the things I can do because that's what I can do. And that's where we are. We're just part of the things that can happen. So it is happening. And it'll happen probably for an eternity. I don't know. There's no such thing as time. It doesn't matter. I don't understand that, but it's true.
Let's see. Okay, here's something. Thank you, Pierce. Here's something from Pierce.
Hi, Pierce.
Pierce Pierce says, if Pierce happened to visit your old house when it was being haunted, and he came to a different conclusion on what the cause of the strange occurrences is, how would we know who was right? If he said, "Oh, this was nothing special."
It depends on what he says the cause is, and what his expertise in that is. So say he says, well, the glass didn't actually fly at your head. It turns out that the counter is crooked, it's not level. The glass fell, and then a bee flew by and shot
Mhm.
it up, and that's just what happened. I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess prove to me that the counter isn't level, and then give me some kind of expert opinion about that a bee can do that, and then I would believe it. But if he's like some kind of expert in those subjects, there used to be a show on TV where you had two ghost hunters and one house person who inspects houses, house inspector. And so the ghost hunters would look for the ghost, and the house inspector would go around the house and be like, "No, it's an old house. It's just the electricity."
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, so I believe it.
So if so both of you having the same experience in the house, you would attribute it to what you're attributing it to, and you would not believe him unless he had proof to back up to explain exactly what happened.
With a reasonable doubt. I mean, I think that it's more likely that there probably isn't a spiritual cause than there is a spiritual cause. So, you know, the burden of proof weighs more on my side than on his side. But it would still have to meet that burden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wonder how we could prove that it was a spirit. Hmm.
I don't like one of those white noise machines. Look, I talk to them all the time. I use I use divination in my spiritual practices all the time, and there's no way. It's even when I'm doing it, it is impossible for me to know for a fact that my brain isn't making it up somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't think I am. I'm not intentionally doing it with the conscious part of my brain, but it's absolutely possible that my subconscious is doing something. But even so, wow, that's like a whole other subject. Like that's a big ball of wax.
Mm-hmm. So when you're speaking to spirits through your divination and
Di-
your all the work that you're doing, um, how do you say that?
Divination.
Divination. Sorry. Um, do they? So do they respond? I mean, do you have questions answered? Do you have things revealed to you?
Yeah,
Whether
it
it's your
depends
own
on.
brain or not, I mean, are you getting answers?
Yes. Yeah, it depends on what medium I'm using, but like, um, yeah, usually it's some kind of in the spirit board, Ouija board I use, although that's not a really good way to do it, but I do. Tarot cards. I use a pendulum.
Hmm.
Pendulum's the easiest one because I have it just swing, yes or no, and again, it's like I'm holding it. There's no way that I can do the pendulum without holding it. So it's possible that my fingers are slightly moving, causing it to spin.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm holding it as I'm trying as hard as I can not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And yet sometimes the reaction is so big and there's no other ambient reason for the swing. Is so big it's not probable that I'm doing it without knowing it.
Hmm. I wonder if there would be a way. Do you know? I mean, would there be a way to test whether you're doing it or whether it's like coming from your brain? I mean, that would be cool if all
Yeah.
of the things were actually coming from your brain.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Maybe if I didn't have to hold it. Like I've tried to think of a
mm,
way like to have like a bar or something in the wall kind of sticking out where I can
mhm.
hang the pendulum and
Maybe a banana rack.
oh, that's a good idea. I wonder. I hang it without it hitting the other parts of the I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna work on that. See what I can
That
figure
might
out.
be a good way to see if it alters any.
Right.
I mean, it might be a good testable way.
Absolutely. I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'd like to know. I would like to know how that turns out.
All right.
Sounds really interesting. Well, let's see. It looks like we're about out of time. I'm sure that I did this haphazardly.
You can ask Pierce. I'm ADHD and I'm just like very talkative and you have to reel me in. So
Yeah.
you have to keep a leash on me or else I'll just talk
Oh,
forever.
I think you're great.
Okay,
Uh,
thank you.
yeah, absolutely. I hope I can talk to you again in the future. This was fun. Excellent. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate you taking the time. Okay, great. Talk to you later. Bye.